What is up, guys? Venruki here, bringing you another video. In this video, we will be talking about frost mages. This is one video in a three-part video series where I'm going to be going over frost mages in this video, another video going over fire mages, and another video going over arcane mages. Just talking about the 7-1-5 ability changes, talent changes, PvP talent changes, and what I think the overall viability of these specializations is going to be, just to give you some of my thoughts. So, without further ado, my friends, let us get into it. These are the Frost Mage changes for 7.1.5. Follow along, if you will. To start off, we got a new talent, Frigid Winds. It's going to be replacing Ice Flows. If you look at the talent calculator, Ice Flows has been moved to a level 30 talent and now competes with some other talents like Shimmer and Glacial Insulation, which is a new talent we will get into. So Frigid Winds, new. All your chilling effects reduce the target's movement speed by an additional 15%. So a very good talent. It's going to take your Cone of Cold from a 70% snare to an 85% snare, which is ridiculous. Ridiculous. Frozen Touch. Increase your chance to generate Fingers of Frost by 40%. So they changed it. Instead of just giving you 2 fingers, it now increases your fingers regeneration by 40%. That is ridiculous. So what that means is our Frozen Orb finally means something. What you're going to be able to do is use Frozen Touch, then use your Frozen Orb, and with that, you'll be getting non-stop Fingers of Frost charges, especially if you have it on like 2 targets. Even if you have it on 1 target, it's going to be very high likelihood you'll be getting spam Fingers of Frost. It's going to give you a lot of instant damage for your bursts. So if you're playing a comp like Windwalker Frost Mage or Rogue Frost Mage, and a healer gets stunned, you drop a Frozen Orb on them, you will be able to do considerable amount of consistent damage, which is really cool. Glacial Insulation, like we talked about, new talent. Ice Barrier increases your armor by 50% while active, and Ice Block applies Ice Barrier when it fades. So this is going to be really strong, I think, against cleave teams that cannot purge your Ice Barrier. If they can purge it, probably not going to get that much value from it, but if they can't purge it, it's going to be increased armor, which is going to make it harder for them to get that Ice Barrier off. In addition, yeah, you'll just be taking less damage. The only problem with this is it competes with Shimmer, which is crazy mobility and really important, or Ice Flows, which is also crazy mobility and really important. So once again, these 3 talents are going to be hard to decide which one to choose, but I'm leaning more towards Shimmer. Next up, Glacial Spike got a fat buff. Not sure I completely agree with this one, but hey, whatever. I guess it is what it is. Glacial Spike does more damage. Only unfortunate side effect of this is that now I feel like we're even more pigeonholed into Glacial Spike, which is a little sad. Next, Ray of Frost got a little bit of a buff. Still, don't think it's going to be that significant, unfortunately, so still probably not a talent that we're going to be taking too often. I think Lonely Winter is just going to be overall better. Looking at some of the specialization changes, Mages now have an ability called Cold Snap. We got Cold Snap back, and it resets the cooldown of your Frost Nova, your Cone of Cold, your Ice Barrier, and your Ice Block. So, Frost Mages will always have 2 Ice Blocks. That is very powerful. Obviously, Ice Block is an incredibly important defensive cooldown. You're going to be able to Cold Snap your Cone of Cold. You're going to be able to Cold Snap your Ice Barrier as well as your Frost Nova. So, really fun that they added that utility back. Honestly, super freaking excited that they did. That in and of itself could make Frost Mages more viable than the other specs, but we'll have to see. Cone of Cold got a little bit of a damage buff. I mean, the percentages are nice, but Cone of Cold actually does 0 damage, so I just, even with this big buff, it's still going to do 0, unfortunately. They removed Frost Armor from the game, similarly to how they removed Molten Armor and Mage Armor, and they kind of built that into our Ice Barrier, I believe. Yeah, Ice Barrier, they make it so melee attacks against you reduce the attacker's move speed by 50%. So when people attack into Ice Barrier, they will be snared. It's no longer something that just automatically happens. I think it's a good change. It's less... I like changes, I like abilities, and I like effects that you intentionally apply on your enemies. So putting up that Ice Barrier to make sure you can kite them a little bit better is going to be nice. And then, yeah, obviously it's not as good, but I do like the change overall. Fingers of Frost, what did they change here? Fingers of Frost generation has been lowered on Frostbolt and Frozen Orb, which is unfortunate. Oh no, it only got lowered on Blizzard. So, sorry. Only Blizzard chance to give you Fingers of Frost was reduced, which really isn't that big of a deal in PvP. Frostbolt damage got reduced. That makes me really sad. I cry, weep into my pillow every night when I see Frostbolt damage getting reduced and Glacial Spike damage getting buffed, but what can you do? Fire Blast has been given to mages now, Frost mages, so we now have Fire Blast, which is cool. I'm just going to have one charge. The damage of it looks like it got increased a little bit, so that's cool. Ice Lance got buffed. That's going to be really strong, so some of our instant damage has been increased, which makes me really, really happy, and that's going to be particularly nice with that Frozen Touch, Frozen Orb combo I was talking about a little bit earlier on. Moving forward, look at the Honor Talents. Burst of Cold got nerfed. I feel like this is just like an automatic nerf that happened just because Cone of Cold got buffed. This talent is 100% completely useless, so it's irrelevant. You would never spec that in a million years unless Cone of Cold did way more damage. Obviously, a million is hyperbole, but it would need to do a significant percentage more. Like if this said like 500% more damage, then this would maybe be good, but it's not, so it's not good. Deep Shatter got changed to 150%. I feel like it was always 150%, so I don't actually think that changed. I think on live right now it is also 150%, but yeah. So I don't think that's a big deal. Ice Form went back up to a 1 minute cooldown, up from 45. So they changed that as well. Ice Form going to be a little bit of a longer cooldown for that additional damage, which is unfortunate, but it is what it is. Chain Reaction, one of our artifact traits, got nerfed. So what it used to do is Frostbolt, Critical Strikes, and Power Ice Lance, increasing damage dealt by 20% for 6 seconds. They had to nerf that. Obviously, they brought up the damage of Ice Lance, and I think to remove some of the volatile inconsistencies that can when we have Chain Reaction plus Ice Lance just base hitting so hard, they had to tone it down. Ebon Bolt got a fat buff, and it now gives you Brain Freeze instead of Fingers procs, which is kind of nice. So you're going to be able to use that to get big Frostbolts off. You Ebon Bolt, then Frostbolt, then Brain Freeze. So yeah, the new combo is going to be if you can get an Ice Form off. You don't necessarily have to have a Glacial Spike, but you can just Ice Form, you can Ebon Bolt. Out of that Ebon Bolt, you can Frostbolt into your Brain Freeze, Flurry, and then into an Ice Lance. That's going to be like a 4 ability Shatter combo. It's going to do a lot of damage. And then Shield of Elodie, they actually nerfed Ice Barrier. So Ice Barrier is going to be absorbing a little bit less, unfortunately. What did they do to Ice Block? Oh, they changed it down to a 4-minute cooldown. Interesting. So Ice Block is actually going to have 2 charges, and it's going to be a 4-minute cooldown. So Frost Mage is going to be able to Ice Block a lot more often than they are now. Obviously, they removed Cold Snap, and they changed Rune of Power down to 40%. If you look at talent changes, they don't have the heal from Cold Snap anymore. Unstable Magic got a little bit of a buff, actually. So they rebuffed Unstable Magic for Frost Mages, so our Frostbolts are going to be able to hit a little harder. They added Dampen Magic in, and Temporal Shield got changed to a 6-second cooldown as well. So, in terms of spec, if we look at the talent calculator, I'm probably going to still be going with that Lonely Winter. This is the toss-up. Probably going to be going with Shimmer, but I could see myself in a lot of situations using Ice Flow. Going to be going with Encounter's Ward. Most likely Frozen Touch, just so I can get that Fingers of Frost generation. Maybe Ice Nova might be good too. Ice Nova still does a lot of damage. It's going to be a toss-up between these 2 abilities. Just depends on what playstyle you're going for. This is more instant damage. This is more cast damage. Obviously, with your Ice Nova, you can set up those big Frostbolts and the big Glacial Spikes. Frigid Winds is going to be really strong. It's going to make your Cone of Cold an 85% snare. If you've ever been snared by 85%, it is absurd. You don't move at all, so that's going to be a good tool we have to peel melee, which is going to be really strong. Unstable Magic got rebuffed, so it might be something you look into if you're not worried about your Frostbolts breaking. Otherwise, we might be go into Arctic Gale once again, which is basically picking no talent. We'll have to see how that plays out. Glacial Spike got buffed to Infinity Beyond, so I don't see us ever not playing it. In terms of PvP talents, it's going to be similar as well. They didn't really change too much. Oops. Let's go to PvP talents for mages. And yeah, we're going to go Ice Form, going to go Deep Shatter, going to be going with probably Temporal Shield or Dampen Magic, Prismatic Cloak or Burning Determination, Mind Quickness, and then the Trinket of your choice is probably going to be the build of choice, something like this. But yeah, Frost Mages getting some interesting changes. We'll have to see how it plays out. Some of the things I really like is the additional snare, 15% increased snare. That talent's going to be really strong. It's going to be really annoying for melee. Obviously, we can no longer run cast and have the blink cast from Shimmer, so that unfortunately sucks. Ebon Bolt got a much needed buff, in my opinion. Unfortunately, Frostbolt got a reduction, but Ice Lance got buffed, so a lot of trade-offs back and forth. We'll have to see how it plays out. I think Frost Mages are still going to be really good. Are they going to be better than Arcane and Fire? I'm not sure. I think all 3 specs of Mages are going to be viable next patch, which makes me really, really excited. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching. If you have any questions, any comments, any concerns, please hit it up in the comments and let me know what you think. Peace out.